My name is Dan Samarit. I would like to welcome you to this year's Meet the Candidate format. Working with Linda Dillon, Julie Hamburg, and Rosemary Williams, we will help to make you informed of decisions about the election on December 3rd. Drew Delwood has agreed to be our moderator tonight, as in years in the past, and has worked at this very much. His work is very much appreciated. I would like to remind the candidates that you have agreed to a debate-style format with the opportunity to rebut other candidates' response. This is a little different from the past format and should be very informed. Thank you all for coming, and let's get this thing started. Mr. Danworth.
All right. Let's see. A little bit of the preliminaries. I'm Drew Dilworth. I think this is the 5th time I've done this. It's always a lot of fun. But I think I speak for everybody here. Can you hear me or no? No. Let's see here. I think I speak for everybody here in thanking each of you for deciding to run to represent our community and spending the time and effort to bring your ideas and speak about them tonight. I know that it takes a lot of time, and so for those people willing to do it, I always have a lot of admiration. Just a few preliminaries. So the format's going to be initially each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer a platform question. I'll read it first, and each of the candidates will then have 3 minutes to give their platform about what they're running on. After that, and we're just going to go down the line, we're going to go through a series of, we're going to rotate down the line in terms of who starts off answering a series of questions where you'd have 2 minutes to answer. If the course of those answers and that dialogue make it obvious that there is something to kind of have further discussion or rebuttal on, I'd ask that you ask for that invitation, because some of these questions probably don't lend themselves to much rebuttal. But if there is something, then certainly we should do that. And just, if you feel compelled to rebut certain points, please ask me and we'll provide a little bit of time, probably about a minute. I want to make a disclosure. I've had the pleasure of working with Rox Ross for 8 years. The format of this questioning, I wasn't involved in developing any of the questions, and they were just handed to me this evening. So I wasn't able to give them to Rox, but I did want to make sure everybody knows that we've worked together for 8 years, and that's been my pleasure. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start with Mr. Bildt, and this is the platform question. Each candidate gets 3 minutes to answer, and there's 3 parts. Part 1 is, why do you want to run for office? Part 2, what qualifications, experience, background, education, and training do you have that would be useful in this job? And part 3, what do you think the duties and responsibilities and role of a commissioner are? So you have 3 minutes to answer.
All right. Okay, everybody. My name is Harvey Bildt. Vicki and I live at 450 Northeast 121st Street. We moved here about 15 years ago after living in the Shores, in South Miami, in Lauderdale Lakes. We moved in to Biscayne Park because we love the area. We love the value that you get for your money, and we want to keep it the same way. We want to make sure that Biscayne Park maintains its property value. And that's one of the things I want to make sure we do. I've seen not a lot of things get done, and I'd like to change that. I'd like to see more positive things get done. And if somebody is against something, let's see what we can do. If you're against something, you've got to come back with some sort of a positive. What can we do? It takes a lot of time being a commissioner. It takes a lot of work. It's not easy. It's something I'd like to do because I think there's been somewhat lacking in the village. I've been on the Code Enforcement Board, I think, for about 6 years now, as David has. The meetings usually run, I guess, about an hour. And we disagree with each other about a lot of things. But even though we disagree about a lot of things, everybody is always polite to each other. We come to something that we think is amiable to everyone, and then it's done with, and it's finished. I was also on the code review, where we tried to rewrite the code, to make the code a little bit easier, to be more understanding. Some years back, I was appointed to a grievance committee by the Board of Governors of the Florida Bar. And I think I served 4 years. I honestly don't remember how long that was. Because I was a reasonable person. We had attorneys on it. We had lay people on it. We looked at cases, complaints that were made. We came to decisions. And we all worked together, even though we all had slightly different ideas of what went on. But we all worked together. I think one of the most important things being a commissioner would be is you need to maintain the quality of life in the park. Most people, their house is their biggest investment that they've made or ever will make. And one way we can keep that investment as high as it is, and maybe keep it growing, is by making sure the park is a place where people want to live. A place that's safe that's pretty, a place that you get along with your neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Bilt. Mr. Coviel.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for the organizers, and thank you to all the residents for coming. This really shows a lot that the room is full, and I think many people have an interest in this election because they want to see change. And the reason why I decided to run, I've been involved with various boards, including the Code Enforcement Board and the Code Review Committee for a number of years. And as Harvey mentioned, our meetings run very smoothly. Each of the board members gets along, and we get the job done. And I think the residents that I've spoken to in doing the campaigning are frustrated in the way that the commission meetings are proceeding, and they feel that there's a lot of unnecessary animosity, personal animosities, and the discord has just gotten so personal that nothing is getting done, and that's the reason why I'm running, is to move past that, and so that we can all work together. I think that the fact that you were all here, and I went to the 80th anniversary celebration, and the energy that I felt that night, and this is a very special community, and I think that we can do wonderful things if we work together and not against each other. And it seems like there's two factions that are working against each other, and I just think that's wrong, and I don't want to change that. As far as my qualifications and experience, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for more than 10 years with the law firm of Schutz & Bowen in Miami. My practice is almost exclusively in the area of land use and zoning law. So I deal with municipalities on a regular basis. I'm familiar with municipal law, and so I think I have a lot to bring to the table in addressing some of the issues that come before the commission. As far as the duties and responsibilities of the commissioner, I think the biggest issue, and I think that's lacking right now, is the ability to listen to the other side and compromise. I think there's always going to be disagreement on the issues. Not everyone's going to agree all the time, but we need to listen and compromise. I'll give you a little example and breathe some levity into this, but I was campaigning the other day, and a gentleman said, you look very young, and I only vote for somebody with gray hair. I said, okay, well, I'm losing my hair. Will that work? It will work. So we compromised, and he's going to support me.
Very good. Okay, Mr. Espinoza?
Great. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, great. Good evening, neighbors. I feel like after doing all the walking that I have done in the past few days and riding my tricycle and walking around, I feel like everybody is my next door neighbor. I get to know a lot of good people in the community. And we moved to Biscayne Park a little bit over a year ago, and we went through a lot of hard work and difficulties with the city, trying to rebuild my house. My house is the one on 780 Northeast 119th Street. I think almost everybody knows that my house is the one built all the way in the back. So we had a lot of hard times rebuilding the property, and I felt that the village really needs some changes. We need to make the village to be an enjoyable place for every single one of the residents that are here. There is no need to do a different treatment to anyone. We are all the principals of this village. If you look at the organization chart, the residents are the principal of this village. So we need to treat them with respect. And that's the reason why I decided to run for commission. So as my experience, I have 40 years working as an accountant. That's my profession. I've been involved in originally doing audits, worked for Price Waterhouse. I got an excellent training doing the audits. I've been involved in doing budgets, financial planning, variance analysis of the actual expenses against the budget, and have to set up some controls so the budgets can be respected. And that's the experience that I'm bringing to the village. And I want to make sure that we do everything that it needs to be done to make sure that the budget really works. We need to review what we call the reserve. As of this moment, I don't know what the reserve means or what is that a good reserve the village deserves. Because a reserve is supposed to be for emergency occasions only. And I don't think that's the case, but we'll get there when I get to that seat. And what I can do and offer to the community is that my commitment to all the residents of the village is to have a commission that is able to make decisions that are in the best interest of the village as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs?
Yes. Good evening, and I want to thank everyone. I hear some feedback. Okay. Good evening, and I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I want to thank everyone for taking part in this event. It's very important that everyone be aware of all the issues that they can be and be as informed when they get ready to vote as possible. I've been blessed and lucky enough to be mayor of this village for the last 2 years. I intend to run, as is obvious by sitting up here, for another 2 years as commissioner or mayor, as it might be. I want to take this moment in time to thank my wife, who is at home, for allowing me to expend the significant number of hours that we all on this dais can agree it will take to do this job properly, be it as commissioner or mayor. I've been blessed to meet many of you, and the few of you that I haven't been able to speak with, I hope to speak with in the next few days and talk to throughout the next few years. We are a diverse community, and we need to work together. We're not a very large community, and there's no reason why we can't come to common ground, even with significant disagreement. When I came in here 2 years ago and I became mayor, we had a number of bank-owned homes, and thankfully that number has decreased significantly. Our property values have gone up 2 years in a row, and the trend, the expectation is that they will continue to go up. And I'm sure everyone in this room and everyone that will eventually hear this, I will presume, wants property values to go up. Everyone does. That being said, everyone here has diverse opinions and diverse needs. We've done things throughout the last 2 years to improve family-friendly events, to improve the professionalization of the administration, to improve the quality of the services that you and I receive. My hope is that you will give me another 2 years so that I can continue working for the better part of the village. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you talk about the background?
He gave his opening statement. Okay, Mr. Jonas?
Most people in a municipality do not run for office, and probably the commonest reason for it is that they feel at some level as though things are going well enough. And if things were going well enough, it's entirely possible that I wouldn't run for office either. I think they're not going well enough. I see us as having been sliding for some time now. In some ways, it's been a little bit subtle. We haven't reached terrible crises yet, partly because we've been lucky. But my primary reason for running is that I think we need a broader view, we need a little more vision than we've had, and we need some planning that isn't always easy to do. And certainly in elected situations, many people do not like to take bold positions because you will always disappoint or upset somebody. So most elected officials wait until there's a crisis big enough that nobody can complain if they take a position. And I really don't want things to get that bad here, although they certainly are heading in that direction. I'm sure we'll talk more about that tonight, and certainly anything that any of us have said in campaigning has probably illustrated something about that. In terms of qualifications, I've not lived in Biscayne Park long, only since 2005, but during the time I've lived here, I consider myself to have been very well involved in the village. I come to all meetings, all events. I've been part of one board or another consistently since 2006, planning and zoning at first, and then code review, and now the foundation. I feel that I have enough of a perspective and enough of a view and an understanding of the village that I would have something of value to offer. In terms of what I believe the duties and responsibilities of a commissioner are now, they certainly are very different than they were just 5 or 10 years ago when commissioners had to run village departments. It was very hands-on, and it's not like that anymore. Now we have professional management, so commissioners really are responsible, and the commission as a whole is responsible really for taking the broader view, for establishing overall policies, and for looking for direction for the well-being of the village. And that's really what I would like to do more than anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas. Ms. Ross?
I want to thank the organizers of this event. I want to offer the explanation that was given to me for this bike is that ordinarily we have 5 bikes, and this is an add-on for each of the 6. But I do want to thank the organizers of this event, the moderator, and all of you for coming out to learn a little more about your candidates for office. Can you hear me now?
Not well. Not well. Maybe you can borrow or switch with Fred, just so that everybody can hear you. Pardon?
All right, we're going to resume. You're right back on the clock.
Okay. Thanks everyone again for coming out. For the organizers, for our moderator Drew, my fellow panelists, thank you for coming out to help you make an important decision for the village in this election. Why do I want to run for office? Well, when Chuck and I got married, and a short year later, we were driving through the village looking for a place to live, and we fell in love with this village. It was 1987 when we bought our house, and we've been here ever since. I'm happy to say we're going to celebrate our 27th wedding anniversary this Wednesday, the 27th, and we probably will spend the rest of our lives here in the village. I'm running for re-election because I want to continue to improve our community. I first got involved with the village in 2003 when I became a member of the committee for the Public Works Committee. And later on I served as the chair of the Recreation Advisory Board. I was elected in 2009, served as your mayor for 2 years and commissioner for 2 years. In that time I've been a strong advocate for the village. I have advocated here locally and in Tallahassee. We've accomplished a number of things in the last 4 years, and I want to continue in that vein, trying to create opportunities for the village and trying to enhance our community. What are my qualifications? Well, shortly after I undertook each one of those municipal service tasks, I realized that it involved much more than I had anticipated at first blush. And so when I got elected in 2009, I made sure that I acquired the tools that were needed in order to serve to my best capacity. In that vein, I have attended several sessions and seminars and courses through the Florida League of Cities and the Miami-Dade League of Cities, including the emo classes that the Florida League offers. I was thrilled to be invited to and accept the first class of the Good Government Initiative, which is an 8-day session that's put on by Katie Sorensen at the UM. And I think that I've brought a lot of that learning back and applied it to our practices here in the village, to advising the administration, to working with our commission to benefit the village. There is going to be conflict when you have 5 people sitting on a board, but I believe that that conflict could happen in a respectful manner, that there could be compromise reached. And if you look back to many of the decisions that have been made in the last 4 years, you will find that many of them were either unanimous or 4-to-1 decisions.
You want to wrap it up?
Thank you. I look forward to the rest of the questions and to sharing more of myself. Thank you.
All right. Good start. No fist fights. All right. So first question's for you, David. The subject is diversity. Okay. Here it is. Biscayne Park is a diverse community, and many residents have diverse viewpoints. How would you, as commissioner, work to ensure that all views are considered on an issue? What would you do to combat the unneighborly tone from both residents and commissioners who speak at meetings? And we're going to have 2 minutes for that.
Okay. I think that on the issue of diversity, we are a diverse community in many ways, but I also think that we have one common goal, and that we want to make this the best it can be, and we want our property values to increase, and we want the village to remain as unique as it is. At the same time, we also need to recognize that we need to grow as a community and improve our revenues and address those issues. So, there is always going to be different ways to get there, but I think that we all want to get to the same point. As far as working with others, I think that it really comes down to respect and listening. You need to listen to the other side. You need to hear their points of view. It's very easy to take a strong position on something and then tell the other person that their position is foolish. I think it's much more difficult to take a position and then compromise, hear the other position out, and then come to an agreement and compromise. And that's how issues get resolved. So I don't think that we necessarily have that now, and I would foster that type of discussion. And along the same lines, we really need to treat each other in a civil way. We need to respect each other. And again, I think that will go a long way in getting each side to compromise and come to a suitable solution so that the village can move forward. Thank you.
And I should say, if you want me to repeat the question, just by all means ask me to. But Mr. Espinosa?
Diversity in the neighborhood. It's great to see that. I really enjoy seeing that, and I feel that I have the advantage that I can speak 2 languages, and I know that I can communicate much better with the Spanish community that we have. I believe we have 30% of the community here in the village are Spanish. But anyways, it's life. I mean, what I see is that there is a lot of new families moving into the village, and they are young families. And the reason why they move into this area is because they see the beauty. It's a beautiful village. It's a beautiful place to live. It's a beautiful place where you can have your kids enjoying also all these areas. My wife and I and my kids, all of us love the area. And I think it's a great opportunity to push that and to develop the village, taking advantage of this diversity so we can have these new people rebuilding the city. And that's the way that the city is going to get more revenues for the future. So we can create more income, more revenues to fix streets, to take care of the trees, and to take care of all everything that we love in this area. And I see that as a good opportunity to address and treat everyone the same way, so everyone can have the same opportunity to enjoy the city.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs.
Diversity is a strength, not a weakness. Seeing young families that are able to use the park that's right outside that door, or seeing longtime residents who can walk in safety at all times of day or night. And I've had residents come to me, and for their own safety, I won't tell you who they are, but they told me that they can walk at all times of day or night in the streets, and they're very happy to do so. Having communities of different lifestyles or different situations, different family situations, it's amazing the diversity that benefits our village. The difficult question is, how do you make sure that everybody's represented? How do you give everybody enough time? Those that can, boy, I wish I had this kind of crowd on a regular commission night. Those that can normally attend commission meetings, and those that can't because of work or kids or whatever other life issues they've got in front of them, where they entrust the elected officials to do what's right by the community. What I've tried to do over the last 2 years is get rid of the gavel as much as possible, to allow people at the lectern speak as much as possible, and to respect their right to do so. There are times when democracy is messy, but I intend and will foster a community where everybody's voice is heard. If you reach out to me, or hopefully you reach out to the other commissioners, I hope they would respond quickly and with respect. And I hope that continues for another 2 years.
Good.
Right on.
Perfect timing. Mr. Jonas?
I think really the issue is not so much diversity itself, but the balance between the diversity we have, which is one of the treasures of this. Louder?
Go ahead. It's a balance really between the diversity that is represented by the village and the fact that we all live together. So we want to appreciate each other's difference, and at the same time we want to understand that we all have to be responsible to each other. That balance, or difficult balance, is the cause of a certain amount of discord, where people maybe at one end want to do whatever they want, and they become very frustrated about the rules set by everybody else, and other people maybe on the other end become maybe somewhat doctrinaire, and they feel that everybody should live in a certain way, the way they'd like to live, and so that's the difficult balance. It's the thing we deal with all the time. It's the thing that our boards have to deal with, and at some point the commission has to deal with it too, because some of that comes to the commission. But I really think that's the diversity issue. It's the struggle that we have, and I think if we simply keep our eye on the ball, so to speak, and appreciate that's the balance, that's the tension, that's the problem we have to solve, then we'll all be able to solve it adequately well. Which is not to say that there's any decision that will please everybody. Probably no decision ever will. And as long as that's understood too, then it becomes part of the solution.
Thank you. Ms. Ross?
When I was mayor, I would open every one of our commission meetings with a celebration of the diversity that we have here in the village. And I made a statement about it in order to set a tone, to celebrate the diversity, and to also enjoy those differences in our deliberative processes. I was very glad to have the rest of the commission, thankful for the rest of the commission, to follow me in a resolution to recognize domestic familial relationships here in the village. It was time that we had that, as other cities do. diversity can be a lot of things in the village. It's about our people, it's about our committees, it's about the needs that we have. It could be about our medians and our trees. There does need to be achieved a balance, and I think the best way to achieve that balance is to create opportunity for more participation. And those are the things that I want to encourage in the village. Since getting elected, I have been trying to improve our audio system and our video system so that even the people at home have access and can participate in our processes, and I welcome you all to do that.
All right, thank you. So, moving off diversity. Oh. Well, hey, I gotta goose you from here or something. All right, we'll give him a chance, right? Go up or down. All right.
I look at the diversity, and maybe we are all very diverse individually, but as a group, we're not. We're all homeowners. We all enjoy living here. We all want the best things for our families. We want the best things for our children. And hopefully we all want the best things for our neighbors. So in that respect, we're not diverse. We are all citizens, everybody wanting to work along with everybody else. Yeah, there'll be some issues that come up that some people will agree on, some people will not. But it's like being married or living with somebody. You know to pick your battles, which things are important, which things aren't, and you've got to give in. Eventually you learn it's more important to be happy than it is to be right. And if you give a little bit, the other person will give a little bit. The other thing is, if you say something hurtful to somebody else, you can never take it back because people will always remember it. So we've got to learn to live together. We've got to learn to listen to what everybody wants. If you don't agree, come up with a solution. Come up with a reason. Tell them why not. Tell them where you are willing to give in, and somehow between the two come to some sort of consensus.
Now, you brought up your marriage, and I know your wife's here, so maybe we can find out if you really live by all of that. Okay. All right. Moving on to annexation. That's the next topic. And the question, I hear the groan. The topic of annexation has come up again right now. 1, explain your position, and 2, what alternative revenues would you consider for improving the financial resources of the village? Mr. Espinoza?
An area that where I can really help with the experience that I have, first of all, we will need to identify what is it that we really have as a reserve. Because when you have an annexation on hands, it's an investment that you're doing. So you're going to have to take in consideration that you're going to need funds to take care of and to service that area for around a year. Because the city earns the taxes in arrears. We don't get the taxes in advance, and we don't pay those in advance. We are residents, we all know that. So in order for the annexation to work, we need to make sure that we do have enough funds in reserve to take care of those services that we need to do for the area that we want to annex. I know that we're all looking for areas on how to improve the revenue, and we have it in our hands. We have all these new families coming in. The property values are going up. The residents are going to be able to just take an equity loan, start rebuilding the city. And those are the areas that we need to help all the residents and be supportive when they request a permit so they can improve the property. What that is going to do, it gets reported to the county, which increase the taxable value of all these properties. And that's how we can create more revenue to the city. And that's how we can survive and we can make it and move on and increase our reserves. We need to identify what is it that we really need to have as a reserve. The difference that we have as a revenue, then we need to invest in the city, fix the city, take care of these streets, and take care of our trees.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs?
Annexation is something that we've been talking about for about 18 months, give or take. And there have been questions that have been asked in regard to proper accounting, in regard to the impacts to the city, impacts to services, impacts to the residents and the issues therein. And after 18 months, I don't honestly believe we've gotten all the answers that we need, nor do I think that necessarily we're going to with the staff that we have on hand in regard to planning. I haven't been happy, and I've said publicly I'm not happy with some of the services we've gotten in that regard. We just recently, we go back to the first time it came up a while back. First time it came to me a while back. There were questions that were asked that were never answered, and we were told by the county that it was almost an immediate situation. We had to move quickly, we had to move now, we had to start the process, we had to do what we needed to do because time was of the essence. Time's been of the essence for 18 months. And just recently we had a vote in the on the November agenda that was put forward by Commissioner Ross. Time was of the essence. 15, 16 months later, time was still of the essence. And she decided that she would pull it till after the election to make certain that the commission as a whole would have either enough votes to move it forward or otherwise. We've also gone from,
Just wrap up the thought.
we've also gone from a very large area, which would bring in a lot of taxable revenue, to a very small area that wouldn't bring in nearly that much revenue. I have a lot of questions, and I'm not eager for annexation. I'll go back to my the other part of the question later.
Mr. Jonas?
Annexation is not necessarily the question. It's potentially an answer, but the question is, what do our finances look like? Do we need to do anything other than what we're doing? Can we balance our books, so to speak, internally? And I don't really see that there has been any proposal that says that we can. We have eaten up reserve year after year, and that's without making any improvements. We are in a money-losing mode. The kinds of ideas that make us think that maybe this will somehow go away are things like maybe in time properties will sell for more than they've been selling for, and maybe the taxes will go up high enough that perhaps we can begin to pay our bills without losing money. It's a lot of conjecture, and I think we've come to a point where we've really had to think whether there's any different approach we should take. And there certainly are some. We've talked about things like raising taxes. We're already taxed fairly high, even though our property values are relatively modest, and nobody really wants to tax any higher than that. We've talked about whether we can survive by applying for grants. It's a very unstable and unreliable way to try to exist as a municipality. We've talked about whether we should economize more, with really no consideration for all the economizing that's gone on over the past 4 very difficult years. Ana Garcia worked extremely hard and has us pretty much at the bone now. And I think there's really no reason that we shouldn't be considering the possibility that annexation is a good idea. It certainly is what the vast majority of municipalities do in terms of having a commercial component. We are very unusual in not having one at all. The only kinds of municipalities that can try to get away with that are ones like Golden Beach, where the property values are so high that they can charge conventional taxes and they still make plenty of money. We just can't really do that. We need to look further.
Okay. Ms. Ross?
The concept of annexation actually became part of our municipal goal in 2007 when the comprehensive plan was, amendments to the comprehensive plan were being developed. Back then, it was decided, and it was later endorsed by 2 consecutive commissions following, that annexation would be a future goal of the village. The reason I believe they came, and watching the process, that they came to that conclusion was because of the diminishing revenues and increasing expenses. Our expenses are outrunning our revenues. Taxable values in Biscayne Park in 2011 were taxable property values were 130 million. In 2012, they're 126 million. Coming forward to 2013, we've all received our tax bills, but we don't know what they're going to be because there are value adjustments. There are a lot of things that we want to improve our village. And right now, we're just pacing our expenses with the revenues that we receive. If we want to make a real change, we have to make a change in how we process and how we do things. On the expense side, we have made drastic reductions on expenses. We've reduced expenses by nearly $500,000 in the last 6 years. I believe that the village would not have survived that drastic cut had it not been for the manager that we had in place, and I'm thankful for this community that several years ago we did put in a manager form of government, because without that person at the helm, we would not have been able to be where we are today. I think we would be in much more serious trouble than we are. I don't want to, go on about doom and gloom, but we can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We have to find a solution, and this is one solution that I think that we should pursue. Whether we end up down that road or not, I think we should continue pursuing it and find out the answers to the questions.
I learned.
Okay, good. I believe it was a month ago or 2 months ago at our commission meeting, our county commissioner, Sally Haven, came and spoke to us and said, you guys need to annex that area. She was very vehement about it. She's always done great things for the village. She's gotten us police cars. She's gotten us, I believe, defibrillators. She's gotten us tasers. She says it's a good idea. It'll help our tax base. She said, if there's ever a storm of any sort, there's a place there that you can dump all the garbage until things are taken away. And I tend to believe her. We need facts and figures. The only way we get the facts and figures is from the county. We need to apply. Once we apply, then the county will come back to us and say, this is what the tax rate is, this is how much you can take, this is the revenues you expect to make. Until then, it's all conjecture. I've learned in business, I never make decisions for other people. Let them make that decision for them. They're going to tell me what they want, and then we can go. We can either say yes, we can say no, we can negotiate. Our police chief said, yes, it'll take 3 or 4 extra officers. He knows the approximate amount. From what I've seen of the particular area, I believe it's mostly commercial, doesn't need any trash pickup, needs a minimum of utilities as far as public works goes, but until we find out, we don't know what it's going to be. And if we needed to do something right away, gosh, that was 18 months ago. Right now, everybody else wants the same areas. We know that the area to the south, Miami Shores wants. Much smaller area, part of the area that we originally wanted. And I can't imagine Miami Shores wants it because they want to be nice. They think it's a good revenue maker. The area that we want, I think, is even better. Yep, we do have problems with revenue. We need to do something about it. Exactly what it is, I don't know. I know you have a house, you have a budget, you don't have enough money, you look for other resources.
David?
Annexation is a big deal. It's a big step. And I can't say right now whether I'm for or against annexation because we don't have 2 documents that I would require to make that decision. And I'm not quite sure why we don't have the first document if we've been at this for 18 months. But the first thing is, that as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, we have not done a simple budget projection. And I have little doubt that we have revenue issues, but we need to have a budget projection done by a financial expert showing exactly what our revenue is going to be, make certain assumptions with respect to increase in costs, and what is our situation going to be in 5 years. And I think every resident that I spoke to wants to see that evidence presented to them before they will either support or go against the annexation. So I think a simple budget projection is going to go a long way in making that decision. The second thing that I'd like to see is that our planner came up with a report, a study, that says these are going to be the increased costs in maintaining this annexed area and these are going to be the revenues gained from that area. Well, that study dealt with a large area which included residential properties and also commercial properties. Well, obviously, if now we're pursuing a smaller area with just commercial properties, that whole study goes out the door. So therefore, we need the expert to come forward and provide possibly maybe a few scenarios, maybe 3, 4 scenarios, saying if we annex this area, these are going to be the pros and cons. If we annex this other area, these are the pros and cons. And then we make an educated decision as to what area we should go through if, after the budget projection, we deem it necessary. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, next topic, no header. So it's a simple question. We'll start with Mr. Jacobs.
There are no simple questions.
This is kind of simple, actually. I disagree with you. If the village had unlimited funds, what would you like to see done with that money? So, simple enough.
Unlimited funds, I'd like to do more than one thing if we have unlimited funds. So can I give you 2 answers? I want to rebuild our reserves. I want to create an open fund for every homeowner to increase their property values to the nth degree and make it a municipal wonderland where the municipality supports all of us. I don't believe that we can create fantasy land, but yes, we need to rebuild our reserves. I don't believe we're ever going to have unlimited funds, but we do have specific goals that I believe benefit the city as a whole. It's important that we deal with rebuilding our reserves. It's something that I think everyone on this dais could agree to, whether we know why the reserves have fallen or not, whether we know whether we need annexation or not. What I would like to explore, and I'm willing to hear from the community, as I have already with other ideas in regard to this, the idea that was brought forward to me prior to the election, and an idea that I think is worth exploring, is the idea of taking some of the land that we have that isn't developed and killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Creating a new municipal building, giving the police a floor, and creating a small area, 1 floor, for a bike shop or a coffee shop or something that we can claim as our own. If we go through annexation and we drop $10,000 just to get the application done, and the county says no, we're out $10,000. I've had to fight for 2 years to get $100 worth of printer ink for a computer for the community. So I'm very careful when we say we want to spend $10,000 for an application.
Very good. Mr. Jonas?
Well, Drew, a blank check. The medians need a lot of help. We need to tear up all the weeds and the grass that's not quite there and fix them up. We need development there. We need to do something about our log cabin. We need to rehab what's there, add on to it so we have a proper place for the police. The streets are beginning to be all chopped up on the edges. That all needs to be repaved and redone. There's some question about whether village-wide public lighting would be a great idea. A lot of people think it would. That'd be a nice thing to spend money on. I would still love to see a barrier along the train track for the whole length of the village so that we cut down on noise and people coming over. No reason, since the check is blank, no reason that we can't have some more public art too.
Mr. Ross?
This is a dream come true. The first thing I would try to accomplish, or we would accomplish, is to improve our audio and video systems and our website capacity so that our meetings, our commission meetings and our board meetings could be on the web, streamed, and that would be provided to us through a professional provider. Our webmistress does a fantastic job, but she wears many, many hats. And when you look at other city websites, I believe our website is a little lacking in that area. I think that would improve community engagement when these conversations, or the conversations that occur at commission meetings and at board meetings, can be viewed in the privacy of your home on your computer. I would restore our log cabin and bring it back to a community gathering place, a place where people can have events, where the community can gather, where we can have just a variety of things offered. A library maybe, a place for seniors to come and use a computer when they need to. I would want to build a functioning municipal building that's reflective of our community. A place where people can come and do business, but also that is looks like the village of Biscayne Park. I think our reserves, of course, are a priority. I would like to see our reserves at $1 million or $1.2 million, so that we are ensured that in the event of a storm or in the event of an unexpected happening, we are covered in the village and we can continue as the community that we all know and love.
Okay. I want to hear more about the web mistress. Different conversation. Okay.
Okay, as long as we have an unlimited amount of money, I think I would like to do things that possibly would affect the residents much more than the municipality as a whole. I'd love to be able to bury all of the utility lines, get the poles out of the village. That'll make the village look a lot better, make it almost completely storm-proof. Let's put in new water pipes. Everybody will get clean water at a decent pressure. It would really be great if we could somehow put a solar system in. Everybody gets free electricity. That would be a great idea. Other places are doing it, some small places, with much more money than we do. But as long as we have money, that would be great. It'd also be really nice if we would have a wireless system for the entire village. You don't have to have Comcast, anybody else. You live in the village, you get free wireless. And of course, everything everybody else said makes a lot of sense. But those are things I think that would affect the individual residents the most.
Yeah, I think that the priority needs to be the repair of the log cabin, not so much for to have it for our administrative offices, because I don't think it's suitable for that, but we should make it into a community center, like I think Commissioner Ross says. But we also need to build suitable space for our staff and for our police department. I think it's completely absurd that our police department is operating on a rented trailer on a vacant piece of property that we own. I think we could maximize the use of that property, potentially get funds from that property, have a developer come in and do something that's entirely suitable and compatible with the neighborhood, have that developer build our administrative offices, use the money we get from the sale of that property, and rebuild the log cabin. So I think maximizing that property and building a new village hall has to be the priority. Thank you.
Mr. Espinosa.
With some extra funds, and part of my commitment is that as an accountant, I'm going to make that happen, that we're going to have those funds available. And what I'm going to do with those funds is I want to work here and take advantage of this property that we have here. It's a beautiful place that we have, beautiful park. We need to create more events, more activities, so all the residents can come and enjoy, so we can get to know a little bit better, so we can work much better. That's what we need to do. Just as an example, my son Daniel Espinosa and Christina Finch, they're putting together a little concert. They have a tutorial in music performance, and everyone is invited. They have some invitation for next Saturday at 6 in the afternoon, just to give a little bit of an idea of what is it that they want to do. They want to participate a little bit more here with the village, and that's what they would love to do. They would love to start some events here, have some activities, music, bring all the art, the culture back into the village, so we can get together here and enjoy everyone. Bring the kids, bring the family, bring them all, even the family that don't live here in the village. Bring them here, show them what we're doing to improve our village. Thank you.
Okay. Next topic is transparency. The question is, what does transparency in government mean to you? Mr. Jonas?
It means that people do not collude with each other in ways that everybody else doesn't know about. It means that people do not get information that they don't share with other people. It means that decisions are made in an open way and are explained, and that the people who make them are accountable. Not sure what else to say about it.
Oh, and you can right there. Mr. Ross?
We have in Florida something called the Sunshine Law, and through that law, your elected people and even your board members are not able to speak to each other on a topic that's going to come before them for a decision, other than in a public venue, at a meeting that's been announced and minutes are taken. So that's how your village business is performed. And you know, at times maybe that's what shows some of the conflict is played out here at the commission table, because we're not able to work out any of those details in private. We have to discuss them out in the open. That is what transparency is. On the other side of it, I have tried to make it a practice to work with our administration before coming to a meeting. So some of the questions that I may have in advance are worked out with the administration, and that's within the law. Each commissioner is entitled to do that, speak to to the village manager to work those things out and come to a commission meeting with an idea or at least the answers to those questions. Transparency is important because we don't want to go back to days where things happen in government and people are just totally unaware of how they came to those conclusions. So I think it's a good plan. It's a good way to work. It's a good way to work government.
Well, I think we try and be as transparent as we possibly can now. I possibly would like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see more things online. I'd like to say I believe now we do have the agenda online for all the meetings. I'd like to see possibly even more of the backup online. I know, having sit in the audience occasionally, questions come up to